Hello and welcome to Win Some Loosemore. My name is Dieter and you join me for my top 10 games. Now, this is something I do 2 or 3 times a year. I take you through games. Usually we own them, but all the games that I've played, which at this stage is only about 200 or so in the last 2 or 3 years since we've started playing designer board games and getting into the hobby. And so I do the incredibly nerdy thing of ranking every game that I play, ordering them. Every week or so I go back to it just to look at it, retweak it. Some of these have gone up and down depending on how much I've played it and what I still think of it after more play. Some new things have come in, I would imagine, since last time. And instead of trying to rely on my editing, because I've made a few mistakes on that, I have all the boxes in front of me. So I'm going to be grabbing for those so I can show you what I'm talking about as I go along. Rattle through this is rather quickly. Number 10 was an honorary mention last time. It didn't quite make it onto the list because I'd only got it a couple of days before I did the list, but I now have played this much more. This is Race for the Galaxy. This is number 10 now. This is a great game. I do enjoy it at 2, but it feels like it works better at multiplayer. There is a variant. You can play it normally at 2-player, where everybody just picks one action, but there's a variant where you pick 2 actions each, so it adds that variability. Basically, everybody's trying to build their own galactic empire, I suppose, built of planets that you've settled on and technologies that you have discovered, and everybody selects one of the available actions secretly, simultaneously. Then we flip them, and then everybody does all of those actions. So if you picked Explore, which basically means you get more cards in your hand, there's 2 Explore cards, but let's say you picked Explore +1/+1. You, because you picked it, get to draw 3 cards, look at them, keep 2 of them, discard 1. Everybody else would draw 2 cards, keep 1, discard 1, unless they also chose Explore. Settle, you can build a planet for its cost by discarding cards, but then you get to draw. If you did it, you get a bonus, basically, for whatever you do, and there's a few different actions. It's a little thinkier. I'm still only really discovering some of the strategies. The production consumption goods thing is still, I'm trying to figure that one out. I'm getting better at it, but it lasts a nice amount of time. It says 30 to 60 minutes on the box. That's about right. At any player count, it's tended to have been about 40 minutes to an hour whenever I've played. I want to play more of this. As I say, I'm only really starting to discover the strategies, but it's a good one. I've got one of the expansions, which really helps for me because it's got then little goals that you can achieve. That's how my brain works. That's good for me. But Race for the Galaxy, base game before even the expansion, is great, and I'm excited to try more. So that's number 10. Number 9 is a 2-player game that you may well have heard us talk about before. This is Patchwork. This is the little, what do they call them? Polyominoes, Tetris pieces that are in a big circle, and you're trying to build your patchwork quilt with an economy of buttons. So it's kind of a theme that's put on. It does look like a nice patchwork quilt at the end, but you don't really buy patches and sell with buttons in real life. So the theme's kind of there. It's more for the aesthetic. But this is a great little 2-player game that Kirsty and I really enjoy. Played it with other people. My mum really enjoys this. Just thematically, it's something she can get into. And mechanically, super simple. You have this little token that moves around the circle, and you have the 3 pieces in front of it available to you to buy should you want to. And you're using up time as well as the economy of buttons. You've got time as an element, so different tiles would only, by placing it, take 1 hour to sew in, whereas this big one would take 4 hours to sew in. And so on this track in the middle, you move that many spaces forward, and it's whoever's behind that gets to go. So you might take 1 turn and build a big patch, whereas I then take 3 little turns just to even catch up with you. And so I could get more goes, more patches, and then every so often there's an income bit that happens and you get buttons equal to the thing. So it's a pattern thing, very simple. Check it out. I think I've done a why I like for it. A little eye will appear in the screen if I have. True for all of these games. That's Patchwork number 2. No, not number 2, number 9. Going the other way, aren't we? Number 8, also a 2-player game and similar size box, but a very different kind of game, is Targhee. This is more of a Euro style worker placement points. There's a theme, but who cares kind of game. But this one's really clever, where you place workers on the outside edge of this. It's essentially a board, but it's made up of cards, and you also get the actions where you've placed workers, but you also get the intersecting actions. So where the two axes meet across your 3 workers, you get the 2 extra actions in the middle. So really clever system. You are building your tableau, so you're gaining some of the cards. Some of them they have different effects and different things. But the resource management takes about an hour. It's really good, really good level of thought for the size of box that it is. It's only very small. Not many components the same. Mostly it's just cards because it's set up that way. But love it. That is Targhee. Sorry, I'm just looking at my list down here. That was number 8. Number 7. Couldn't just have the box lid because it's the whole thing. This is Onitama. Relatively new to us, but immediately shot its way into our top 10 as my second favourite 2-player only game. As a theme of those, it's mostly just the 2 of us that play, so a lot of 2-player only games appear on this, but this is Onitama. This, for me, opinion only, fixes chess. I don't mind chess. I will happily play it. I'm bad at it, but I will happily play it. And have a relatively good time doing it, depending on the opponent, depending on how well I feel I'm doing. But I don't understand the kind of depth of the strategy and everything, and I know lots of people love it. One of my brothers-in-law, I don't know, really loves it and really understands all the perfect knowledge and having the strategy mapped out and reacting, those kinds of things. That's great. This is a way simpler, way more accessible, for me, more fun way of doing something similar. So you have your 5 pieces, they have their 5 pieces, and you either win by taking their king, their master, or getting your master to their home base. But the moves aren't associated with the pieces. In chess, your knight always moves like this, your queen moves like this, all of that. In this, there are 5 cards available, and I own 2, you own 2, and there's 1 off to the side. And I look at that card, whatever it might be, and it shows where I am and therefore where I could move to if I were to use that card. And so the tiger allows me to move forward 2 spaces or back 1. And so I go, okay, I'm going to move this piece 2 spaces forwards. But now I've used that card, I have to pass that. I have to give it to the other team, and I take the one that's been put to the side. So I've got 2 different moves. They use whatever move they're going to, and then they gain the tiger card. And so not only are you thinking about the moves I'm going to take, but also what moves am I giving away. And there's 16, I think, different cards in the game, in the base game. And so only 5 are used, and so that shuffle of what comes out, you go, actually there's not really any forward movement in this game, so it's going to have to change how I do it. So each time it's a very tactical battle. It can last 5 minutes, can last 15, 20 minutes, but really engaging. Works with children. We played it recently with, I believe he's 10, and he completely got it, completely understood it. Great fun. Good for camping. It's a neoprene mat and chunky plastic pieces, so that's great. Onitama, number 7. Number 6, now I have to be a little cautious on this one. Number 6 is Lord of the Rings, the Living Card Game, or the card game. And I say I have to be cautious because I haven't played this since I last did the top 10, which really is too long. Mostly that's because we've just had new stuff coming in. I love trying other stuff, and I usually play this solo, and there are other things that I've gotten recently that I've been playing more, and so I don't think this will have gone down. It's gone down slightly. I think it was 4 or 5 before, but it's at number 6 at the moment because my memory of it, my feeling when I think about the game still puts it here, but it's one that I will need to come back to again and again to really get more and more and more out of it and reignite kind of the passion that I had for it when I first got it. I've got most of the first cycle of the expansions that came out. I want to complete that, just that first cycle. There's loads you could buy, but just that first cycle of 6 extra packs, I've got 4 of them, and they just add new cards, add new adventures that you can go on with these characters, but I really like the core mechanism. I really like how the theme comes through. It's not the movies, it's the world of Middle-earth as Tolkien created, so that's really cool. But as I say, it is number 6. It is great, but I'm going to have to play it more. If I don't, it might have to drop down just because I'm playing and enjoying other things more. I think that's fair. But Lord of the Rings living card game, excellent. Do check it out. So top 5. This has moved up slightly. Concordia. Excellent game. Massive box. I haven't played the New Venus expansion. I haven't got any other maps. Just the basic game is all we've got. And I really like it. As far as our Euro games go, you know, the bland themes, that you're just going for points, you're pushing little wooden pieces around just to get points. This, I think, let me check. This is my favorite. This is so good. It's so good. And I've played it more with 5 people, which should be unwieldy and take forever. But it's still engaging, even though there's 4 other people before my turn. I'm figuring out how to use the cards that I've got. It's helped that I've won most of those times, and it's helped to win that I've taught most of those times, so it's not really a fair assessment to say. But at 2-player I really enjoy it, at 3-player I really enjoy it, 4-player I really enjoy it, 5-player I really enjoy it. It's got the 2 sides of the map, so it scales well. I think it's more engaging above 2-player, but I do enjoy the 2-player as well. Concordia, excellent game. I recently did a why I like, so that will appear in the eye, so check that one out. Concordia, excellent. Number 4, kind of Euro-y, but not. This is too silly fun to be pure Euro. This is Small World. This is amazing. Love it. I don't like area control games. I just don't like them. They're boring. Which is unfair of me to say because I haven't played many of them, because they strike me as boring. And why waste my time? I may be missing out. I'm sorry, I may be missing out. But Small World is great. It's kind of area control, but you're not taking this one long overview of how to take over the world like something like Risk or something. This is, you get a fantasy race and a power and you just shove them on the board. You go out, you go attacking for like, and they may only last like 2 or 3 rounds, and then you have to put them into decline and get another race and do it again. And you're just building up. Yes, you're control of the board and you're scoring each time, so it is an area control game, but it's much more about how do I manipulate the powers with the race ability to have fun. This is possibly the first game on the, I mean, all games are for fun, and these are on my list because I have so much fun, but this is it's probably the first one on the list whose sole aim within itself seems to be to have a laugh. You don't have stories about, oh, when I played this amazing strategy for victory. You have amazing stories of the bivouacking Amazons or the aquatic rat men or whatever it might be. You have these hilarious moments that come up through these combinations, these stories to tell of just how much fun this game is. I've taught it to a few people. It always goes well. Small World, do check it out. Excellent game. Pretty good production too. Days of Wonder, known for it. Top 3 should now come as no surprise if you've watched any of these before. Number 3, The Seventh Continent. This has moved around a little bit, but it's tended to hover around number 3 for me. We have finally got all of the expansion stuff that came from the Kickstarter, the What Goes Up Must Come Down, white box this size. I could have grabbed it, but I didn't. This is like a choose your own adventure survival game, but really good, really clever, fascinates me. I've only tried half of the curses in the base box. I haven't even touched the expansion yet, other than to have a look at it and play with it, and it's got some cool stuff that comes inside. And it's still number 3. I imagine the new things will add even more life and I'll be even more excited about it, but it's great. Your deck of cards that are your actions and your skill test for whether you achieve what you want to do. I want to move over here, that costs me a star. I need to turn over 2 cards. Yes, I got a star, great. It's really clever, but that's also your life. So the more things you want to try and do without resting, healing, eating food from fish that you've caught or whatever, it's like a video game in a box, like a big RPG video game, but you have to eat, you have to rest. It's really clever, really good. I haven't done a why I like on this, partly because I need to get really good at explaining those rules to do it, because it's nuanced, it's clever. It is simple once you're going, but I think that explanation, I need to work out how to make that nice and concise. But I will as soon as I've worked out how to do that well. And I don't want to spoil anything. But they've come now with an introductory curse in the new expansion stuff, so I'll probably use that as any explanation I do. So I need to play that one first. Seventh Continent, excellent. I've rambled. Number 2. And it almost saddens me that it's my number 2. It can't, because I prefer my number 1, but number 2 is Keyforge. This is the second set starter kit, but so far I've gotten the starter kit for all the sets, and a third is coming out soon, November, I believe. Love this. It appeals to my Yu-Gi-Oh! Pokemon kind of background in the one-on-one card duels. It appeals to my, I want to buy lots of things, to try out new things. It's like getting almost an expansion or a new game every time you buy a deck, but at the same time it's about £8 a time, so I could get a new deck every 6 months or so, which is about how often the sets are coming out, and it just a new life every time. I'm figuring out those decks. If you don't know anything about it, check out the Why I Like. Check out loads of videos all over the internet. It's brilliant, but each deck is unique. It will have one combination of 3 of the 7 houses. 2 more are coming out, I believe, in the new set. And so that makes it different from other decks. But even within that, the card list of that house will be different from any other. Every deck is unique. And so figuring out that puzzle, realizing that it's not a fighting game as such. Yes, there are houses that lean more toward attacking the other. Brobnars, the big giants. I don't know if you can see that. Yes, they lean themselves more towards that, but that's not how you win. You win by accruing this resource, amber. Ember. People pronounce it. It's got one of those AE symbols from Encyclopedia, so probably Ember. And forging 3 keys, key forge, it's in the name. And knowing how to do that, when to attack to stop you being able to reap, to get the resource. So fighting does benefit me, but then I'm not actually getting, and all of this stuff and all the card effects, really clever. Love the puzzle. Sit and play myself a lot of the time just to see how decks match up. Love it. Keyforge, check it out. Number 1. I have finally had a game that didn't go well. Still my number 1, Scythe. A properly good game. Sits for many people in a hybrid category between Euro getting points game that I spoke about before with Concordia, with a kind of what they call a Merathrash or a Meritrash. Dudes on a map, you just go fighting like a dungeon crawler descent or something like that. It's kind of a hybrid because it is about stars, it's about points, it's about tracks, which are typically Euro things, but you're on this big map with giant mechs and things to try and attack others, but you don't have to attack because that's just one of the routes. And it's just a really clever game. It's really well put together, and you just have an action board with only 4 columns on it, and each turn you just put your little token on one of those 4 and you do one of those 4 things, but everyone's mat is different. So my top action is connected to, say, the upgrade bottom action, whereas on yours it's connected to the deploy mech one. And so the puzzle is different for everybody on how do I manipulate the resources that I have available to me, the objectives that I'm trying to achieve with the boards that I have, my faction special power. How do I do all that? That's amazing. That's such a good challenge, such a good puzzle. As I say, the most recent time I played, I was teaching 4 other people. So one of them had played before, but only once. And at 5, with newer people, it got slow. I still had a great time, and I like being in the teaching position. I like answering the questions and helping other people make better choices. I do directing work sometimes, and that's exactly what I love. When I was teaching, that's exactly what I love, helping people make those better choices. So even within teaching games, even if it's going to cost me the game, which just it didn't, again, not a great thing to say. I taught and I won. Well, I should have. It's a strategy game. But yeah, it dragged a little bit, and that's the first time it's not really gone as well. But just the core mechanics of it all are brilliant. There are 3 expansions that we have that are individually great. The Wind Gambit we don't play with as much because I would need to reteach myself the rules for the airships every time. But the extra factions just go straight in, they might show up. The Rise of Fenris campaign we're still working through slowly because you need to have the same people each time. Largely there are rules for jumping in, but it's nice to have the same people each time, so we're getting through that a bit slower than I would like, but we're getting through it, and it's lovely. It's so good. Yes, the story unfolds, and I'm enjoying the narrative, but the variations within each game are great. The artwork, just look. I don't need to talk much about that. It just looks beautiful, and the game is full of this stuff. It's just excellent. Again, I haven't done a why I like, because I try to keep our videos a certain length, and I think it would go over, but if I can work out how to do it more concisely, which I imagine is very possible, I just ramble. If you watch our videos, you know this. If I can keep it nice and concise, I will do it. It is a big, it looks scary game like the Concordia one. It looks big and scary. It's not. It is super simple in function. You move your piece, you do one of those 4 things, but the depth of choice, the complexity comes out of how do I marry all these things up to achieve the thing I want whilst protecting my thing and actually doing the secret objective, which may conflict with the strategy that my boards wanted me to. What do I go for? Love it. Love the range of choice. Absolutely love it. Number 1, not now and forever. Certainly for now, and certainly for a very long time, Scythe. Absolutely love it. I'm needing to get into the practice of saying Scythe. For some reason, I've been calling it Scythe, which is strange, seeing as I wouldn't call a scythe a scythe. Never mind, just something that Kirsty noted the other day, so I'm trying to get it right. Scythe from Janie Stegmaier and Stone Meyer Games. Love it. Thank you very much. That's my top 10 right now as of the end of August 2019. It will change, it always does. We'll get new things, I'll try new things. We've got a couple of new things recently. Go check out our August update when that comes out, probably next week, to see what's new and all those kinds of things. But for now, do subscribe to this channel if you don't already. Hit the bell icon so you stay updated. Follow us on the usual social media platforms on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all those kinds of things. Thank you very much. I've been Dieter for Win Some, Loosemore. Goodbye.